Hey everyone, this is Matt from endsickness.org. Today I'm going to talk to you about the difference between the ERMI test, the ERMI test, and an Airbox test that you typically get when you're getting mold inspections. First, let me say I'm not a medical doctor. This is not medical advice. It's based on my personal experiences for informational and educational purposes only. So an ERMI test versus an Airbox test, which one's more beneficial? Okay, let's start off with the Airbox test. The Airbox test is the idea that you have a box, you're bringing it into a room, you are starting to suck spores out of the air and then collect the data, see how many spores, how many different types of aspergillus, penicillium, these things do you have. And they tell you the species, but they don't tell you the exact strain. So that's one thing that's a big problem with it. And also, airbox tests are not reliable at all. Okay, the reason is because most of these fungi, these molds, they do not spore constantly into the air. You know, they're more attached to surfaces and they'll spore randomly. So it's harder to actually catch a lot of these spores in the air to be able to get an accurate reading. What's more accurate by far versus the airbox test is going to be your ERMI, your ERMI test. It's an Environmental Readiness Mold Index, okay? And this is one of the best tests that are out there. I'll go over other tests in future videos, but the ERMI is a DNA microscopic analysis of the dust. It is a dust sample of your home. Mold lives in dust, okay? Mold uses dust to consume. Mold uses dust to replicate. It's their food. It's its food, really, right? So when you collect the dust from all over the home, and then you do a sample of it, it'll show you all the different strains of mold that are in there. It'll go over 36 different strains of mold. It'll tell you how much each of these strains exist, how many spores of each strain, and it'll give you a much more legitimate assessment of your home to see if you have mold issues or not. What I see often at airbox tests is people will have, oh, I got my airbox test done, and guess what? There's no problems. I have no mold in here, but I'm still sick, Matt. It can't be the mold because I got the airbox test. Well, guess what? The airbox test is not sensitive enough to be able to actually get you a good reading. And if you're using faulty tests to determine if you have a mold issue, you are setting yourself up for disaster, because it could be that you have a mold issue and you've been sick for a couple of years and you discounted that it was mold because you got an airbox test and said, oh, nope, no mold here by Joe Schmo Mold Company. And then you discounted mold as an issue. And you just went down the rabbit hole searching for more and more things, more and more supplements, more and more doctors, when in fact it was mold the whole time. I am that person. I did that myself. It was 5 years of suffering that my daughter and I went through because I got an airbox test and believed what they had to say, right? Because I thought these mold experts were actually experts when in fact they were just amateurs, because they hadn't gone through mold illness themselves. And they're just reading. Once again, they're like doctors. They read books and then they try to help people based on reading books, not actually going through it, right? How are you going to help someone who has a chronic illness when you've never been through it, right? It's kind of like helping someone fix a car when you never fixed a car. You know, how are you going to help people, right? So the ERMI test will go ahead and assess the actual amount of these spores, the exact strains. It'll tell you it'll give you an actual score at the end of 0 to 24 and tell you how much mold is in your place and how that could or could not be relating to your health issues. Much more beneficial. The airbox test is even more expensive. You got to get someone to come in. It's $300-400. The ERMI test is actually inexpensive. It's $160 through EMSL Analytical, or you could get it for like $250 from EnviroBiomics. But they're both great companies. The reality is you want to get a result to see how much mold's in your home. It could be affecting your health, it could be affecting your gut, your immune system, causing you reactions, causing you skin issues, seizures, headaches. If anybody knows, it's me. I saw my daughter be completely disabled by mold we couldn't even see. And I had severe chronic health issues as well from mold years earlier, from mold I could not see. So don't give up on the idea of mold. You got to do the proper testing, okay? You want to do the proper testing in your home, you're going to use an ERMI test. You want to do the proper testing yourself, you're going to be doing the IgG/IgE mycotoxin blood test from mymycolab.com. I do not work for any of these companies I mentioned today. I'm just trying to help you because I went through this suffering for years and I know what it's like to go through it. So I'm just trying to spread the word to save you some time and suffering. So if you have any questions, put them in the comments, reach out to me. I'm happy to help. My website is endsickness.org. I got hundreds of articles, hundreds of videos on there teaching you how to heal yourself out here in nature. Thanks for watching, everybody.